Thank you for helping me. Yeah. Anyway, I mean that. I mean, thank you, okay? I'm sorry. I apologize. I've known you for 11 years. I know. Thank you. So, anyway, I'm going to get to this message in a second. Today, I really would like to share with you metaphysically the story of the song "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear." And I changed it, as you can see, to "It Came Upon a Mind So Clear." And what I hope happens this morning is that you can feel a shift in your mind as you open up to that Christ within. Dr. Clovis Chappelle was a minister who made his transition, a Methodist minister, in 1972. But before that, he wrote approximately 30 books, one of which was called Christmas. And in his book on Christmas, he tells the Christmas story just a little differently. And what he says is that there's this old shepherd, and he's in his home, and sitting on his knee is his grandson. And as he sat there, he started to talk to his grandson about the first Christmas. And he said, I was a young shepherd at the time. And what happened was that I was about 14 or 15 years old, and I was watching over the flock, and I heard a wind, really loud wind come forth. And then it seemed to me that the sky got a little lighter. And then I heard a voice. I actually heard a voice, and it said, "Fear not, for unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. You shall find the babe in swaddling clothes lying in a manger." And then the old man's lips stopped speaking for a few moments. They ceased, and he just sat and he pondered. And the grandson's, "Well, tell me, Granddaddy, what did you do? Did you go to Bethlehem?" And he said, No, I didn't go to Bethlehem. You see, somebody had to stay and watch the flock, and I thought I should do that. Secondly, I was really scared. I didn't know what was going on. And the other thing that happened is that I couldn't believe what I heard. And so I kind of said no, and I stayed. And the little fellow says, well, what else happened? And he said, well, some other shepherds went to Bethlehem. And I don't know for sure, but some people say it's all a myth. It didn't really happen. And some people say that what they found was a babe whose reflection made them understand that God was within them and God was manifesting through them so they could take on what we call the Christ mind. And he sat for a while and thought about that. Well, the question I kind of asked was, what would happen if you were out walking one evening in Bird Park and all of a sudden the wind started to blow, the clouds the clouds lit up and the sky got a little brighter, and then you heard a voice. A voice that says, "Follow me." A voice that says, "I am the Christ. I live within you. And here's where I want you to go to Bethlehem," wherever that happens to be. "I want you to follow your purpose." What would you do? Well, most of us say, "Sir, yeah, I'm ready. I'd do that." But maybe some of you are like me, because it took me a while. And you say, "Well, I'm really responsible for these sheep. And I have to stay here because I'll get in trouble if I leave." Or maybe my work is so important that I got to get my work done because it takes care of my family. And I just don't have time for what they call spiritual growth. Or maybe you say, "I don't even believe what happened. That was crazy stuff." And you're not willing to follow that Christ within. Usually that's because we do not have a clear mind. Usually it's because we are scared, that we live in fear. And when we are scared, we're not able to be sacred. Now you look at the word scared and you look at the word sacred. Scared, S-C-A. Sacred, S-A-C. And that's as quick as it takes to change your mind. It's all in your mind. Are you scared, or are you going to be sacred? Now, I don't mean sacred by lying down and worshiping and dressing a certain way or anything. I'm just talking about being sacred with yourself, stepping within yourself, experiencing the Christ within yourself. Now, while I was preparing this message, Valerie Kay and I were talking. And I asked Valerie if she would rewrite the words to It Came Upon the Midnight Clear. And she's going to sing the first verse through, and then we're going to sing it all together, and it'll come up on the screen when we're ready, okay? Valerie?
It came upon a mind so clear, that glorious light of truth, the nature of the living Christ lives in me and you. We choose our thoughts and words and deeds to bring forth peace on earth, with mind and heart awakening. Behold, new heaven and earth. All right, with me now. It came upon a mind so clear, that glorious light of truth, the nature of the living Christ lives in me and you. We choose our thoughts and words and deeds to bring forth peace on earth, with mind and heart awakening. Behold, new heaven and earth.
Thank you so much. She sent me a text and said, "Is this okay?" And I said, "That's great. Don't change a word." So the question kind of becomes, what happens when we allow ourselves to have a mind so clear? What happens in our lives? What happens to us? What happens, more importantly, in our hearts? You know, we all have core values. The truest core values are those which are spiritual in nature, I believe. They're all innate within us. But sometimes we lose track of them. And as we move through this Christmas season, I hope what happens is you get on track with them. Because, you see, with a clear mind, we can be, first of all, in integrity. In integrity. So, with integrity, what that means is that I can align myself with the Christ. I can align myself with the divine mind that I am. I can align myself in such a way that I am saying, yes, I am open to the possibilities of the Christ from Bethlehem being born in me, as me. And I can then express that in my day-to-day life. I really become honest with myself when I step into integrity and say, what are my fears and how do I manage those fears? The second thing is, with a clear mind, we can commit to creating a spiritual plan. During the past year, I've been teaching a course called The Foundations of Unity. And a lot of Unity students are in it. And the assignment they have to do, one of them, is to write a paper called My Spiritual Plan. It's not a reflective paper. It is maybe just goals. A, I'm going to meditate every morning. B, I'm going to read every morning. C, I'm going to treat people differently. Whatever it happens to be. I'm going to share my love. And so people have been writing these spiritual plans, and they have blown my mind. They're beautiful. And we did the class here, and the same thing happened as people wrote their spiritual plans. It's not complex. It's just making a commitment to move forward because of the fact that we are awakening to spirit. We are awakening to the truth of who we are and what we are becoming. And so with a mind that is clear, we become authentic. We talked about that earlier in the year. Meaning to be authentic means that we are vulnerable. Means that we step outside of fear and take risk. That we don't let fear overcome us. That we trust Spirit as Spirit speaks to us. That when we are in Bird Park having that walk and we hear a voice that says, here is where you're supposed to go, we listen and then we start to take action in that direction. That's what really being authentic means. And then the next thing that takes place, because you see we are in integrity, we are spiritually awakening, we are now authentic with where we're moving and what we're doing, we're in step with God, so to speak, is that the next thing is that we have unconditional love. And maybe for the first time we really understand what it means. I had a friend of mine who said all the time, God is unconditional love, but humans aren't. And I said, well, how about you? And she said, no, I can't be unconditional love. Well, why not? Well, I got a couple people who've treated me and mistreated me, and so therefore I can't love them unconditionally. It was about 3 years later that she had an experience where she knew that she was unconditional love. You see, what happens is we're taught that we can't love ourselves. We're taught that we aren't that good. We're taught that we are, quote-unquote, sinners, which means we're really bad. We're taught that we are unworthy. And so we always look outside of ourselves for the answers because we come to believe that. But the truth is we are worthy of everything that God is because we are created in that same image. We are created like God, and we can manifest God in our being. As long as we are willing to step into that love and love ourselves, then what we find is we can love others equally. But that's the first step, is loving yourself. When you understand unconditional love. And you can do it as a spiritual being on a spiritual plane in this place we call earth. And see, the next thing that happens is when I experience the unconditional love, that I start to experience God as inclusive. Inclusive. And what does that mean? Well, it means that I am loving my enemy, as Jesus said. It means that I am willing to love those people who I think have harmed me. It means that I start to look at my woundedness, as I call it. You know, wounded Catholic, wounded Baptist, wounded Methodist, wounded this, wounded that. There's some Unity people running around saying, believe it or not, I've been wounded by Unity when I was young. And so what happens is instead of feeling wounded over time, we understand that that was all part of the path to get us where we are now. We honor that path. We accept that path within ourselves. Because without that, I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be where I am today. I would not understand my ability to be truly inclusive. Inclusiveness means also that I accept everybody as they are. There was recently in a class that I taught, and the comment kind of surprised me, a fellow who'd been in Unity for quite a while. And he probably was older than I was, which is somewhat possible. And anyway, I'll just use the name Doc. Doc said, when we do a closing statement with each other and what you got from the class. And he said, you know, I've been in Unity a long time. And one of the things that I have not ever experienced is having gays in the community. It just was not a Unity church that I went to. And when I came into this class, there were gays and lesbians who were open about it. And he said, and that just amazed me. And it touched my heart. And he said, and I really was pretty amazed, Richard, that you just accepted them like they were. It was no big deal over it. And I didn't think about that, but you know, when we are inclusive, we share with everybody and we touch one another in different ways, but we honor each and every person, no matter what they look like, how they act, or what they do. I may not honor their actions, but I honor the person, knowing that any actions that are not of love is because there is an absence of love that they just haven't found yet. But it's there. It's available. We call it the Christ within. And then when we have a clear mind and we move through those steps, we start to see ourselves and the world differently. We start to be thankful for everything around us. We start to understand that we are living literally in a church or in a world of abundance, where there's more than enough, and that we can reach out and help others because we're so thankful, and that they can find that they're living in a world of abundance, of support. And so we learn to create a consciousness that is called the consciousness of prosperity. A consciousness that says, yes, there is enough. A consciousness that says, I can manifest what I need to carry me through each and every day. That power lies within me because I am of the Christ mind and I can use the law of mind action to change my world. And so we have these 6. And the last one is, and it kind of moves through the process, is transformation. With a clear mind, we all are transformed. And what do we mean? It doesn't mean at the end all of a sudden we're transformed, okay? It happens gradually as we move along. As we experience being integrity, we start to feel the transformation. As we step into the idea of a spiritual awakening and we make a commitment to it, we start to experience transformation. And then when we are authentic and we feel that love, we start to actually experience transformation. You see, it's part of the process that moves you through. For some people, it comes as a big aha. I've been looking at this and all of a sudden they go, hey, wait, look at me. I am transformed. I experience the Christ within. And here's the interesting thing, and I've had a lot of people tell me this. Some people will go to work. They haven't said anything to anybody about going to Unity. I mean, we don't talk about that at first. And they don't say anything about it. And then what happens is somebody walks by their desk and says, you sure have changed. What's going on in your life? You look different. What's going on in your life? You are different. What's happening? Tell me about it. Many of you have shared that story with me. I've had the same experiences. And what has happened is my life is transformed because I see the world, I see myself, and I see others in a different light. And people feel that. They're attracted to it. They understand that something has happened, but they can't always put their finger on it. So, what I hope for you this Christmas is that you will receive it with a clear mind. That you will hear that angelic voice of Spirit within you, speaking to you, guiding you and directing you. Don't be like the shepherd who didn't go to Bethlehem. Be like the shepherds who went to Bethlehem and accepted their calling and found God within and found a way to live life more joyously. So open your heart, think from your heart, and you will experience this birth of the Christ in you, because through the heart our mind is clear. May this be your best Christmas ever.